Moving into a new home is supposed to be one of life's happiest milestones. Fresh paint, empty rooms waiting for memories, the smell of new beginnings. But sometimes the walls hold on to the past, and sometimes those walls whisper at night. Tonight, you'll hear 4 terrifying true-style stories of people who thought they were moving into their dream home, only to discover something sinister was already waiting for them. These are 4 scary new house horror stories. Turn off the lights, lock your doors, and listen carefully, because once you move in, you may never move out. Story 1. The basement that should have stayed locked. It all began when Daniel and Claire, newlyweds in their late 20s, moved into what they thought was their forever home. A charming 2-story house in a small Ohio town. The kind of house that felt straight out of a picture book. White picket fence, green lawn, a big oak tree shading the driveway. They bought it at a great price, almost too good to be true. And on the day of the final walkthrough, the real estate agent casually mentioned something odd. "Oh, one thing," she said lightly, almost as if it didn't matter. "The basement door is sealed shut. Old structural problem. You won't need to worry about it." Claire laughed it off. Daniel didn't. He noticed the way the agent's smile trembled when she said it, as if it wasn't the first time she'd given that explanation, as if she didn't quite believe it herself. The first few weeks felt normal enough. Claire decorated the kitchen with bright curtains. Daniel mowed the lawn and introduced himself to the neighbors. At night, they would sit on the porch and listen to the crickets, marveling at how peaceful everything was compared to the busy city life they had left behind. But Daniel couldn't stop thinking about that basement. The door was in the hallway near the laundry room. A heavy wooden door, painted the same beige as the walls, but with 3 thick metal bolts keeping it locked. Every time he passed it, he felt watched, as though something behind that door was aware of him, waiting. One night, about 3 weeks after moving in, Daniel woke up to a sound. Scratching, soft at first, coming from below the floor, almost like an animal. He lay still, listening. It grew louder, clawing, dragging, then silence. Claire stirred beside him. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Daniel nodded. They both looked toward the hallway, where the locked basement door sat in the shadows. The scratching had come from there. The next day, Claire went searching for old storage boxes in the attic. Instead, she found something unexpected. Behind one of the beams, tucked away in the insulation, was a bundle of photographs, faded black and white. They showed families, different families, couples, children, smiling awkwardly at the camera. But every photo had one disturbing detail in common. Each family stood in the exact same spot, in front of the basement door. And in every picture, the door was sealed shut. That night, the noises returned. Louder. Knocks, 3 in a row, echoing from the basement. Claire begged Daniel to leave it alone. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was trapped down there. He started dreaming about the basement. Nightmares where he stood at the top of the stairs, staring into the dark, while something whispered his name. Daniel. Daniel. By the 3rd week, he couldn't resist any longer. He decided to open it. Story 2. The new build that wasn't new. Some houses have a history, but what about a house that's brand new? Fresh wood, shining paint, not a single family ever lived there before. Or so you're told. This is the story of a single mother, her young daughter, and the nightmare they discovered inside a house that was never truly new. The dream home. Anna had always dreamed of a fresh start. After a difficult divorce, she wanted a safe, quiet place for her and Lily. The real estate listing seemed perfect. A newly built 3-bedroom home on the edge of a Texas suburb. Modern appliances, polished floors, a bright pink bedroom just waiting for Lily's stuffed animals. On the first day, everything felt right. The smell of fresh paint, the hum of the air conditioning. It didn't feel haunted, it felt empty. But soon, they would realize that sometimes an empty house is the most dangerous of all. On their second night, Anna tucked Lily into bed and kissed her goodnight. But just an hour later, she heard her daughter's small voice through the baby monitor. "Mommy? The old man's in my room again." Anna froze. "Old man?" She rushed into the room. Nothing. Lily sat wide-eyed, staring at the corner near the closet. "He was right there," Lily whispered. "He said he used to live here." Anna brushed it off as imagination. Stress. A child adjusting to a big move. But the next morning, Lily asked her mother why the walls smelled like smoke. The walls began to change. That night, Anna noticed something. Dark spots, patches, appearing on the walls of the hallway. At first, it looked like water damage, but the stains grew quickly, darker, blacker, shaped like handprints pressed from the inside out. She called a contractor. He arrived the next morning, ran his fingers across the wall, and frowned. "That's not mold," he muttered. "It looks old, like fire damage." Anna blinked. "But this house is brand new." The contractor gave her a strange look. "Brand new," he repeated. "Lady, this frame was standing long before they rebuilt." Hidden past. Shaken, Anna went searching. She drove to the county records office, demanding to know what had stood there before. The clerk hesitated before handing her a file. A farmhouse. A fire. A man who died trapped inside. His name, Harold Thompson, and his remains had never been recovered. Back at the house, things grew worse. Lily's dolls were found arranged in circles in the middle of her room. The black stains on the walls grew larger every night, no matter how much Anna scrubbed. And Lily began speaking to the corner again. "He's lonely, Mommy. He said we should stay forever." Anna demanded to know who he was. Lily's answer made her blood run cold. "The man from the fire. He says this house isn't new. It's still burning." The disappearance. One stormy night, Anna woke to an unnatural silence. The rain had stopped, the wind had died, and Lily was gone. Her bed was empty, the sheets cold. Then Anna heard it, her daughter's voice, muffled, crying, coming from inside the walls. She clawed at the drywall with her bare hands, tearing chunks away. Behind the plaster, there was old, charred wallpaper would blacken from smoke. And faintly, she saw fingerprints, small, childlike prints, burned into the beams. Desperate, Anna called the police. But by the time they arrived, the black stains had spread across the entire living room. The smell of smoke filled the air. One officer whispered to the other, "This isn't new construction. It's built right on the bones of the old place." In that moment, Anna realized the truth. The house wasn't new at all. It was rebuilt around the ashes of the fire. And Harold Thompson, the old man, had never left. He had been waiting for a new family, waiting for Anna and Lily. Anna tore open wall after wall, hearing her daughter's cries echo through the beams. She screamed Lily's name until her throat bled. Finally, she saw her daughter, standing in the hallway. But Lily wasn't alone. Beside her, a tall, blackened figure loomed. His eyes burned like coals. His charred skin cracked with every movement. He reached out a hand, placing it on Lily's shoulder, and Lily whispered, "He says we live here now." Anna fled that night. She never went back, but the house still stands. Families still move in, believing it's brand new. And every child who lives there eventually whispers the same thing. The old man lives here too. Story 3. The house that followed them. Sometimes, people move to escape their past. They think a new place will mean a fresh start. But what if the past doesn't stay behind? What if it follows you wherever you go? James and Marissa had been through a rough year. They lost their jobs in the city, struggled with debt, and fought constantly in their cramped old apartment. So when James's uncle offered them his house in California, modern, spacious, minimalist, it felt like a miracle. On the first night, Marissa stood in the living room, breathing in the smell of fresh paint and polished wood. "It feels brand new," she whispered. James smiled. "It's exactly what we need." But as night fell, something strange happened. The floor creaked, not like a new house should. It creaked the same way their old apartment had. Marissa froze in bed. The sound was unmistakable, the exact creak of the hallway outside their old bedroom. She sat up, heart pounding, waiting for James to stir. But he was asleep. The creaking moved closer. Slow, heavy steps. Marissa whispered into the darkness. "James, are you awake?" No answer. Only the sound of their old apartment's floorboards groaning in a house that wasn't supposed to have them. The next morning, James walked into the living room and froze. Sitting in the corner was a chair. An old, scratched wooden chair. The exact one they had thrown out before the move. He called for Marissa, but when she came in, she gasped. Because beside the chair was their old dining table. The same table with the knife mark from a fight months earlier. Piece by piece, their old furniture began appearing inside the new house. No one brought it there. No one moved it in. It was just there. Marissa's dreams grew darker. In her sleep, she heard whispers, the voice of their old landlord, the neighbor who used to bang on their wall. And sometimes she woke with dirt under her fingernails, as if she had been digging inside the walls. James was an architect by trade. One night, unable to sleep, he compared the blueprints of their new California home with the ones from their old apartment building. His hands trembled as he spread them side by side. Every line, every measurement, every flaw, identical. Their new home was a replica, an exact copy of the apartment they had tried so hard to escape. Marissa began noticing something worse. Every night, the shadows in the hallway looked familiar. Too familiar. The shape of their old neighbor leaning on his cane. The silhouette of the angry man from upstairs. Except these shadows had no faces. Only darkness. One night, James and Marissa had enough. They packed the car in silence, not daring to look back at the house. Hours later, exhausted, they checked into a roadside motel. They laughed nervously, relieved. "We finally got out," Marissa whispered. But at 3 a.m., James woke to a sound. The floorboards creaked, the exact same way they always did. He sat up, heart racing, and in the corner of the motel room sat their old chair. They tried moving again, to Nevada, to Oregon, even back east to New York. But no matter where they went, the same thing happened. The same creaks, the same furniture, the same shadows. Every new house became their old house. It wasn't a place they had left behind. It was a place that had chosen them, and it was never letting go. James and Marissa's story has no ending, because they are still moving, still running, still waking up in houses that are not new at all. And if you ever feel like your home creaks in the exact same way as another, don't look too closely, because maybe your house is following you too. Story 4. The room that wasn't on the blueprint. Every house has a blueprint, a plan that tells you exactly how it was built. But what if one day you discovered a room that wasn't supposed to exist? A room that had never been drawn, never been listed, and yet was waiting for you all along. This is the story of a family who bought their dream mansion in Florida, and a nightmare that came from a room that wasn't on the blueprint. Michael and Karen had saved for years. With their 2 teenage kids, they wanted space, real space. Not a cramped suburban home, but something with history. The moment they saw the mansion, they fell in love. A sweeping staircase, dozens of rooms, tall, arched windows that seemed to whisper with age. Yes, it needed work. Cracked tiles, peeling wallpaper, but it had potential. When Michael asked for the blueprints, the realtor handed them over with a polite smile. "It's all there," she said, but she was wrong. During renovations, workers made a strange discovery. Behind a wall in the east wing, They uncovered a door. Old, wooden, with peeling paint. Michael checked the blueprints. The hallway wasn't supposed to have a door there. In fact, there wasn't supposed to be a room at all. But the door was locked. When they finally forced it open, the family froze. Inside was a perfectly preserved child's bedroom. The wallpaper was faded but intact, cartoon animals smiling with cracked faces. A bed neatly made, toys lined carefully on the shelves, as if someone had just stepped out and never returned. At first, they thought it was charming, creepy but harmless. But on the first night after the room was opened, the toys began to move. Karen walked past the room and saw the blocks stacked high in the center of the floor. The next night, the teddy bear sat in the chair by the bed, though no one had touched it. By the third night, the dolls were arranged in a circle on the floor. Their glass eyes stared at the door. And every morning, when Karen tried to put them back, they always returned to their original places. Waiting, then Karen found it, a diary tucked beneath a loose floorboard. The handwriting was shaky, childlike. They never let me leave this room. They said the house wanted me here forever. The house doesn't like when I cry. Page after page, the child wrote of voices whispering in the walls, of nights where the toys spoke, of scratches under the bed. The final entry read, "Tomorrow they're going to seal the door. If you find this, please don't open it again." One night, Michael woke to silence. The house, normally filled with creaks and groans, was utterly still. His heart dropped when he saw his daughter's bed was empty. He ran through the halls, calling her name, until he reached the hidden room. The door stood open. Inside, his daughter was sitting on the bed, smiling faintly. The toys surrounded her, and in the faint light, Michael swore he saw shadows, tiny hands, pulling her deeper into the mattress. He rushed forward, grabbed her, and pulled with all his strength. For a moment, he felt something pulling back, and then she was free. But the look in her eyes chilled him. "They don't like you, Daddy," she whispered. "They only want me." After that night, things spiraled. Footsteps echoed in the halls when no one was there. The toys appeared in other rooms. The family's belongings went missing, only to reappear inside the hidden bedroom. One by one, they began to vanish. First, their son disappeared during the night. His voice was heard faintly inside the walls. Then Karen, who wandered into the hidden room and was never seen again. Finally, Michael himself was left alone. He boarded the door shut. He tried to flee, but before he could leave, he found himself standing in front of the door again. His hands tore at the boards until the lock broke, and when he stepped inside, the door sealed shut behind him. No one knows what happened to the family. The mansion still stands, rotting slowly in the Florida heat. Most who tour it never notice the east wing at all, but sometimes workers swear they hear faint sounds from behind the wall, the laughter of children, the scraping of toys. And if you ever find a room that isn't on the blueprint, whatever you do, don't open the door. If these stories kept you awake tonight, remember, this is only the beginning. Like and subscribe if you dare, because the next horror story is already waiting.